they have some guys on that team that can help you out, and they have some length, they have some size. Shaq Moore's going to be a problem, but I think that overall Villanova is a better team because they've played against tougher opponents.
I am looking for Leo Rautins. It's Mike Richards calling from rawmikerichards.com.
Hey, Michael, you found him.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, just I'm with Will Strickland, and he was talking a little smack about Syracuse, just so you know. Just so you know.
No, that's just not right. That's just not right.
Well, they've got their play-in game, and ASU again, another Pac-12 team that's I don't know that we just talked about. The Pac-12 is just grossly underachieved, but maybe they really weren't that good to start with. And of course, when you tie that into FBI investigations, it feels just not that from time to time you don't feel like a program might be a little bit dirty, but this is a little bit bigger than that, Leo. And I just wonder, how far do you think this goes, and what is the effect on all conferences?
I think it's going to go pretty deep. You have to wonder if anything's going to happen during the tournament. There's a lot of rumor that some things may be coming out later in the week or next week. But, unfortunately, this is something that's been going on a long, long time. And the NCAA all of a sudden has this look like, whoa, when did this happen? What's going on here? And that's the worst-kept secret in all sports. I can go back to when I was being recruited and the incentives and offers, and you'd be shocked at which coaches did what. And, in a nutshell, here's my position on it, Mike, that coaches cheat. That's your problem. You can blame AAU. You can blame kids looking for a handout. You can blame whatever you want. But coaches cheat. And here's why they cheat. They cheat because they're now in a position more than ever where you win or you're fired. Okay, so the idea of a kid going to college, developing, and becoming an NBA player, that's a scam because the coach doesn't have time for you to develop. Okay, if your development may cost a coach a job. So he wants kids that can come in and win right away or he will be fired. So the pressure is immense. These guys make a lot of money. This is all worth a lot of money to the schools. And coaches cheat. So my take for years has been very simple. If a coach cheats in any way, shape, or form, he's done. Done. Like no second chance, no get another job, no taking one program out and having their things vacated and all of a sudden coming back and coaching again in another school. No, you're done. And because that to me is the problem is the coaches. And if you take care of that, then that's one step to fixing this problem. But again, there's a lot of other options, but that's just one thing to me that it doesn't make sense.
Well, Leo, this is Will Strickland here, and I was kind of slandering you, but I gave you some love. I didn't say anything about the tan. At least I didn't say that.
So, sorry, it broke up a little bit. Say it again, Will.
I'm saying that I was slandering Syracuse a little bit, slandering you a little bit. Not too badly, though. I didn't talk about the tan, but, you look at where there's smoke, sometimes there's fire, and I do agree with you that, it's not just the coach, though. I mean, there are boosters. There are a lot of people who are complicit in the whole scheme of these things. Like the coach is not going there and saying, hey, here's $100,000 out of my pocket, Sean Miller. So, how do you police that part of it?
No, that's a great point. And by the way, that tan is natural. I live in Florida when I'm not in Toronto, so let's just get that out of the way there. But,
well, my tan is natural too, Leo, and I don't live in Florida.
I got to work at mine, though. But here's it's a big dilemma. It really is because you go back to the UCLA days. What was the guy's name? Sam Gilbert, right?
Yep.
So John Wooden claimed he didn't know anything about anything, and everybody at UCLA was getting paid. And Sam Gilbert was the bag man. So it does go on, and in some respects, schools in the NCAA have also put coaches in a terrible situation because. If I'm a coach at a school and I'm at a big time program, and I'll give you an example, like at Syracuse, you got 30,000 people coming to a game. Everybody in the city knows who you are. If one of my players goes to a restaurant, somebody just picks up the tab for him. Do you know that the coach is responsible for that?
Yeah.
which is insane. I mean, and there's no way you can possibly control that. And like I said, Syracuse got in a situation like that where they actually have a whole NCAA compliance department on campus, right? It's all on campus. They got an athletic director, they got associate directors, they got a compliance department. But who's punished when a kid does that? The coach, and it makes no sense. It's something. You got all these academic advisors, academic this, academic that. But if a kid doesn't go to class, it's the coach's fault. They got to realize that you're paying these coaches several $1 million or more to do one thing: win basketball games. So blame the compliance department, blame the academic department. Take a lot of this and have it for what it is. Coaches are there to coach basketball and win games. And by the same token, now we can go to a lot of the kids and say, hey, you might as well start paying these kids because you're bringing kids in from environments that they can't afford, to even go home. Well, obviously somebody's going to get them home. So you're setting them up to cheat right off the top. So it's kind of a vicious circle. But I guess the worst thing about the whole thing that bothers me is that the NCAA acts like it doesn't exist, like it's not happening. This is all, made up. It's just a couple of bad apples, and that's a lot of garbage.
We're in conversation with Leo Rautins here on RawMikeRichards.com, the bracketology show brought to you by RCCN in Calgary, our good friends. And, of course, we're taking a look at some of the brackets. And I realize, Leo, of course, you're always very busy with what the Raptors did. By the way, they win again last night. It took a little while, Leo. Playing Brooklyn. But, I think this is, in talking about the pros, I think this time of year, this is where, you really kind of need to put away teams like that. And there are nights, I'm sure, where they're feeling pretty good about themselves, but there are still pros on the other side who show up. And it took to about the fourth quarter before the Raps got it done.
Yeah, I mean, everybody would like to say, hey, okay, just dismiss these guys, get it done, and move on to your next city. But you are on the road. You're talking about, if you look at the Nets, they may not have a good record, but they fight people. They scrap and play hard. Kenny Atkins has done a great job with that team, and they pushed the Raptors for a while. But the impressive thing to me is, and the way I look at, hey, you got to win on the road, take it and run, go. But the impressive thing to me is when the Raptors come to play. Okay, and again, 82 games, you can't do it every single night. But when they just step on the floor and say, hey, we're taking this to you, they are really good. And then you see the situation like last night, okay, they got down, but nothing phases these guys. And when all of a sudden they go, okay, we've had enough. They just, all of a sudden, they go from a 2-point game to a 14-point game in minutes. Like it's over, it's done. So the impressive thing is these guys find a way, and they're really good. And obviously, every once in a while, that's going to catch you, especially on the road. But it is an 82-game season, and it's really hard to just have that same intensity or that same fire like you start out against the Houston Rockets at home, in a late season game in Brooklyn.
Leo, this is Will again. When you look at the Raptors right now, and they are the tops of the Eastern Conference, one of the elite teams in the National Basketball Association, what is more important for a team that has playoff experience now? They've gone to Eastern Conference Finals before. They've been in the playoffs. They had some issues with a team in Ohio in the past. But when you look at this team with a month left in the season, what's more important to you, not just from the analyst standpoint, but from a fan standpoint, to win 60 games or be healthy going into the playoffs?
Oh, definitely healthy. I mean, everybody's an ankle sprain away from disaster. So, my concern is being healthy and, whatever number it takes to finish first in the conference. That's the big one because, home court's going to be, I think, really, really important, especially when you talk about that Ohio team. I don't care what anybody says about those guys. LeBron James still scares the hell out of me. So, I'm hoping that LeBron James and the Cavaliers don't finish in fourth if the Raptors are first. I wouldn't want to meet that team until the finals. But at the same time, I think just securing home court, staying healthy and securing a home court would be tremendous. And, by chance, in doing so, this team may very well end up at 60 games. But it's not something I think you want to just chase a number and risk anything simply because, being healthy is paramount. And now on the flip side of that, the Raptors are such a deep team, by far the deepest team in the East. And the way they're playing, I mean, you look at rarely do you see guys getting over 30 minutes now. So, that bench has been unique. And so even if they do, have to put the foot on the gas down the stretch, their depth, I think, could be the saving grace to keep everybody healthy outside of, a freak injury, which nobody can avoid.
Hey, Leo. Good morning. It's David Bastel here. Let's go back to our NCAA brackets for a second. I'm not going to ask you who you have in the Final Four, but I'm going to ask you if you're looking out for some surprise teams that may win a couple games where a lot of people may not expect it, or somebody that might be turning some heads here in the first couple of days when the tips tomorrow.
Well, I think we're already seeing, how this tournament it can play out. I mean, you got St. Bonaventure beating UCLA, and a lot of people are looking at like that. That's just this big shocker. And I'm not thinking that way. I think you look at the mid majors now. Athleticism has changed across the board. Everybody's got athletes, and some of these bigger schools are the one and dones are changing the impact of the bigger schools. And I think this tournament's a lot more wide open than a lot of people are giving it credit for. There's teams, at the 10 line that, like I look at a Butler. Butler can beat Arkansas. That to me would not be a shocker. You're looking at, Rhode Island's playing Oklahoma, and I think, even though they're ranked higher, how did Oklahoma even get into this tournament?
I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people feel that way, Leo.
Yeah, I mean, you got obviously Trey Young is I think that's why they got in, but I kind of got tired of watching him a little bit down the stretch of the season. It's you can make all the Steph Curry comparisons you want, but that's not really the direction I'm kind of looking at this kid right now. But I think Rhode Island is a team that can create a lot of problems for people. I mean, they're gonna, even in a potential matchup with Duke. I mean, they're pretty good. They can push Duke. I think Duke is the type of team that can keep rising up here. But I think teams like Rhode Island are going to push people. You got just looking through here in my bracket. You got a San Diego State is a dangerous team. Mm-hmm. They have a potential matchup with Michigan, and that's a team that they got some athletes and they got some length, and they're a team that plays fast. Michigan with Beeline, they do a great job. I look at Michigan and Beeline a lot like Tony Bennett in Virginia. Those guys are two very, very good coaches, and they do a great job of playing the game they want to play. Their defense can really make a big difference. Like I said, it's really hard to kind of go through the brackets because I'm looking. I can see a lot of teams creating problems. I mean, even a Davidson playing Kentucky in that first round. Don't be surprised if that game comes down to the wire. I mean, all the pressure's on the team like Kentucky, and even though they got a boatload of potential NBA players, Davidson is a team that, again, just plays the right way. Plays the right way and discipline, and in the NCAA with all the pressures on the high seats, things can change in a hurry.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I do have Michigan going fairly deep. That run that they've had, and they buried Michigan State when they played them. Michigan State's got some big guys. They can crash the boards as good as anybody, and I think there are a lot of sort of pundits who've got Michigan State going. Well, some of them haven't winning actually the national championship. Another team that you mentioned is Kentucky. I certainly like the way that any game they play extra is one game that those kids kind of get better. But I think that Tony Bennett, for me, the job he's done this year with Virginia, the way that they play defense, like it's conceivable when you play Virginia that you never see a good shot, that you never really get a great shot. It's so hard. No one ever, I don't think that everyone was held under 70 points this year on Tony Bennett's team. And we'll see what happens with their six-man out, what the impact of that is. And, there's a couple of schools that, again, people don't see that much. I don't know if you haven't watched a whole bunch. I think Purdue's got a pretty good basketball team as well.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah,
this is going to be a very good tournament, and a lot of people again, they have Xavier kind of going out, but this Michael Porter Jr. What do you make of that? If he's going to come back and play for Mizzou, just what kind of impact can he have? I mean, he's missed an entire season, but some people have them, getting by Florida State in the first round.
Yeah, It's really tough. Watching him play, he just doesn't look anywhere near, what you expect of him and what he's capable of playing. And obviously, he's a guy in high consideration with the NBA. And but talking to some NBA scouts, they say that there's one guy Porter really focuses in on, is cared about, and that's Porter. And it sounds like even NBA guys are looking at him towards the next level, as saying you might want to consider his impact on a locker room. That's not a good thing to hear from an NBA scout. And so when a guy is, him coming back to a team not being 100%, and you hear that could be really disruptive to them. So they're gonna have their hands full unless he can rise to a level that I just don't see him playing at right now.
Yeah, the Michael Porter Jr. thing is a bad thing all around. I think Missouri had him come back early to feel like they got some worth and value out of him, because they know he's going to the next level next year, Leo. And to bring him back and have him have a really poor showing in the NCAA tournament, what you talked about with the scout and how he looks at the locker room, there are a lot of things going against this kid which are pretty bad, and I think he just should have just sat out the entire season. He could have done a Kyrie Irving. He played 11 games at Duke. Do you remember one? No. Ben Simmons didn't make the NCAA tournament. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. So as much as we talk about some of these things that are going on, I think that he's going to be okay at the next level. I just think it was a bad move for them to bring him back. And without basketball, he's not in basketball shape at all. At all. I mean, he's an athlete. But basketball shape and being like in regular shape are two different things altogether. You know this all too well, Leo. So I don't know. It's just a bad look in Missouri right now.
No, I 100% agree with you. You're not going to get, how many guys have we seen, their stock rises when they don't play? And I look at, Anthony Bennett is a great example where, he played his last year of college, but then he was injured, didn't have one NBA workout, and he rose all the way up to number 1. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not play and just ride your reputation. And as a young guy, the NBA is all about projecting. So I agree with you. The best thing he could have done is just ride it out and just get healthy and wait for the draft.
Leo, hey, thanks so much for joining us here this morning. I appreciate it, you and your travels, but it's always great to get your perspective. It's one of my favorite times of year. It truly is. Do you have a national champion in your head? Can you divulge the Rautins secret?
Yeah, you know what? Every bracket, I always say this, like, the only people that win these brackets are the ones that go, oh, I like those nicknames. Oh, these colors are nice, because it's like, when I put the best luck I've had when I've done a bracket, okay, is just go with gut. No, a lot of thinking, just gut. Boom, 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 fill up my bracket in like 1 minute. Yeah. And that's the best success I've ever had. So, here's what I did the other day. Like, as soon as I just kind of went through it. So I'm still going to ride a little bit with UVA getting to the Final Four, even though I think that injury with Hunter does hurt them. I think Michigan can get to the Final Four. I think Duke can get to the Final Four. And I like Villanova a lot. I like the way they play. They got some championship experience with some of those guys. Brunson's just a stud, and Bridges too. So that's kind of that was my initial, I'm just going to throw it out there, Final Four. So, and once you get there, heck, I don't know. If you could tell me who's going to win, you're better than me. This is tournament's crazy.
It is the crazy time. Hey, you take care, brother. Thanks so much for calling us today. Always appreciate it. You be safe, and I'll see you when you get home.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Great conversation.
That is Leo Rautins joining us here this morning.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.